Have you ever watched someone celebrate before realizing they had just destroyed their own future? My son thought he had won. He believed he had taken everything I owned. My house, my savings, my business. He smiled while telling me there was nothing I could do. He even laughed when he watched me leave with just one small suitcase. But there was one thing he didn't know. 30 years earlier, my late husband had made one decision that would change everything. And when my lawyer walked into that room, my son's smile disappeared. By the end of that meeting, he wasn't celebrating anymore. He was begging. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, if your own child betrayed you like this, would you forgive them? Now, let me tell you what really happened. My name is Margaret Carter. I'm 64 years old. For 38 years, my husband and I built a successful family business from nothing. We worked weekends, skipped vacations, missed birthdays. Every sacrifice was for one reason: our son, Daniel. When Daniel was young, he was kind, respectful, hardworking. After my husband passed away, everything changed. Daniel slowly took control of the company. At first, I trusted him completely. He handled meetings, signed contracts, made financial decisions. I was proud. Everyone said, "Your son is becoming a great businessman." I believed them. Until one Monday morning, Daniel entered my office carrying several folders. "Mom, I think it's time for you to retire." I smiled. "I'll retire when I'm ready." His smile disappeared. "You don't really have a choice." That sentence sent a chill down my spine. The following weeks became strange. Important emails stopped reaching me. Employees avoided eye contact. Board meetings happened without my knowledge. Even my office key card suddenly stopped working. When I asked why, Daniel simply said, "Technical problem." Deep inside, I knew something wasn't right. But I never imagined my own son was preparing to erase me from the life I had built. The next morning, I arrived at the office carrying my usual cup of coffee. But something felt different. The receptionist wouldn't look at me. The security guard stepped in front of the elevator. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter. I've been instructed not to let you upstairs." I laughed. "There must be some mistake." He lowered his head. "I was told those orders came directly from Mr. Daniel Carter. My own son had banned me from entering my own company." I took out my key card. "Access denied." Again, "Access denied." The screen flashed red. At that moment, Daniel walked out of the executive elevator, wearing an expensive suit, smiling as if nothing had happened. "Mom, I told you it was time to retire." I stared at him. "What are you doing?" He shrugged. "I'm protecting the company. You've become old-fashioned." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I built this company." He smiled. "And now it's mine." Then he handed me a thick envelope. Inside were legal documents. According to them, I had supposedly transferred my voting shares to Daniel months earlier. I flipped through every page. My signature appeared everywhere. But I had never signed a single one. "This is fraud." Daniel remained calm. "Can you prove it?" My heart pounded. Employees stood nearby, watching in complete silence. No one said a word. No one defended me. Daniel leaned closer and whispered, "You've already lost. The board is meeting in 1 hour. They're voting me in as permanent CEO. And after today, you'll have nothing." He turned and walked away. I stood there, holding forged documents in my trembling hands. For a moment, I felt completely defeated. Then, I remembered something. 20 years earlier, my husband had insisted on one unusual clause in the company's ownership agreement. At the time, I thought it was unnecessary. Now, it might save everything. I reached into my purse, pulled out an old business card. On it was one name: Michael Harrison, our family lawyer. I looked at my phone and made one call. "Michael, I need you." His reply was immediate. "I'm on my way." Then my lawyer walked into the room. The boardroom was full. 12 executives, 7 board members, the company accountant, and Daniel, sitting confidently at the head of the table. He smiled as I quietly walked in. "So, you actually came?" A few people looked at me with sympathy. Others avoided eye contact. Daniel stood. "Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a new chapter for Carter Industries. My mother has decided to step aside." He held up the forged documents. "All ownership has legally been transferred." Several board members nodded. One even started clapping. Then, the boardroom door opened. Everyone turned. A tall man in a dark navy suit walked in carrying a black leather briefcase. Daniel frowned. Who invited him? He placed his briefcase on the table. "My name is Michael Harrison. I've been the Carter family's attorney for over 30 years. The room instantly became silent. Daniel forced a smile. "This meeting is private." Michael didn't move. "No, it isn't." He opened the briefcase, removed one blue folder, then another. Finally, he placed a sealed document on the table. "Ladies and gentlemen, before this meeting continues, there's something every board member needs to know." Daniel crossed his arms. "This is a waste of time." Michael ignored him. He handed copies of the documents to everyone. One by one, their expressions changed. The chairman looked confused. "What is this?" Michael spoke clearly. 20 years ago, when Margaret and her late husband restructured this company, they created a protective ownership agreement. Daniel's smile slowly disappeared. Michael continued. "It states that no transfer of Margaret Carter's shares can ever become legally valid without my signature as the company's legal trustee." The room became completely silent. Daniel grabbed the documents. His hands started shaking. "That's impossible," Michael calmly replied. "It isn't." He held up the so-called transfer papers. "My signature is missing." He turned another page. "And these signatures claiming to be Margaret's were examined this morning. They are forged." A gasp echoed around the room. The chairman slowly stood up. "Daniel, is this true?" Daniel couldn't answer. His confidence vanished. His face turned pale. Michael looked directly at the board. "I recommend this meeting stop immediately, because what happened here isn't just unethical, it's potentially criminal," Daniel whispered. "Mom." But before he could say another word, there was a loud knock at the boardroom door. 2 detectives stepped inside. One of them spoke. "Mr. Daniel Carter, we need to ask you a few questions regarding allegations of fraud and document forgery." Daniel's eyes widened. For the first time, he realized he hadn't taken everything. He had lost everything. The detective stepped into the boardroom. The room fell silent. Daniel looked around, searching for someone to help him. No one moved. The board members who had praised him only minutes earlier now avoided his eyes. One detective spoke calmly. "Mr. Daniel Carter, you're not under arrest at this moment, but we need you to come with us for questioning regarding allegations of fraud, forgery, and corporate theft." Daniel swallowed hard. His hands were shaking. For the first time, he looked like a frightened little boy, not the confident CEO he pretended to be. As he walked toward the door, he stopped in front of me. His voice cracked. "Mom, I'm sorry. I never wanted it to go this far." I looked into his eyes. "Then why did you do it?" He lowered his head. "I was drowning. The company was losing money. I made bad investments. I borrowed more than I could repay. I thought, if I controlled everything, I could fix it. And when that didn't work, I panicked. I forged your signature. I told myself I'd make everything right later. But later never came. 3 months passed. The investigation uncovered everything. Daniel had acted alone. The employees had been misled. The board had been deceived. Because Daniel admitted what he had done, cooperated with investigators, and repaid the financial losses he could, the court imposed probation, community service, and a permanent ban from serving as a company director for several years. The company survived. But Daniel's career did not. One rainy evening, there was a knock at my front door. I opened it. Daniel stood there. No designer suit. No luxury car. No expensive watch. Just an old jacket and tears in his eyes. "Mom, I don't want your company. I don't want your money. I just want another chance to be your son." He handed me a small envelope. Inside was every key to my office, every company credit card, and a handwritten letter. It simply said, "The greatest thing I ever stole was your trust. I know I may never fully earn it back, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying." I couldn't stop the tears. A year later, Carter Industries was thriving again. Not because I worked harder, but because I had learned something important. Leadership isn't about power. It's about character. Daniel found a modest job at a local community center. Every weekend, he volunteered to teach young entrepreneurs about ethics in business. Whenever someone asked why, he smiled sadly and said, "Because I learned that success built on lies never lasts." One Sunday afternoon, we sat together on the porch where my late husband and I had once planned our future. Daniel looked at me. "Do you think Dad would be disappointed in me?" I smiled gently. "He would be disappointed in your choices. But he'd also be proud that you finally chose to tell the truth." Daniel wiped away a tear. "I'll never stop trying to make things right." I reached over and held his hand. "I know." As the sun disappeared behind the trees, I looked at the company building in the distance. For years, I believed the business was the greatest thing your father and I ever built. I was wrong. The greatest thing we built was the chance for our family to learn that money can be recovered, a company can be rebuilt, but trust must be earned. One honest